Well, hi everybody. This is Oleg. So far, no one's in the chat. I guess I'm gonna wait until one or two people at least show up for my chat, for my live stream. Okay, it is Saturday today. Saturday, I guess it's 14th of 14th of April. We're almost halfway through the April. I'll open some windows here. It's a weird one. Okay, we have one person. Hey, TLR and Newbie. Good to see you guys. Thanks for joining. Yeah, I guess we have a couple of people, so we're gonna start. Anyway, hi everybody. Good to see you. Good to see you all in here. As you know, I drive all over the place, and right now I'm in Pennsylvania. I am in the place where I often meet. TLR is doing taxes. Yeah, it's a pain. I'm running late, so I put extension for my taxes. Oh, Gene Pavlenko, my cousin. Good to see you. Well, thanks for joining live stream. Yeah, I'm in Pennsylvania doing my 34, doing my restart. It's always boring to do restarts because you can't really go anywhere. Often where I am right now, I meet with my friend NY Prepper. However, he's somewhere else. He's not at home, and I couldn't meet with him, which is too bad. Uh, Hopefully next time, we want to go and do some shooting with him one of these days. However, it just did not work out, which is unfortunate this time. As I drive around the States, one of the benefits of being a truck driver, I get to meet with friends and family, and over this year and a half of driving, I have met few of my subscribers, which was cool, because I go pretty much everywhere. I think I've been in this truck. I've been to all of the states, less Delaware, which is very small. I think I've been to all of the lower 48 states. So, yeah, sometimes I go through certain areas often, and sometimes I don't go through some areas for several months or a year. However, it's nice to be able to meet with friends and family, and lately also I noticed fuel is already starting to climb again. We had little breather for a few months. For like last 3-4 months was kind of okay, and now it's starting to climb again. And you know what's funny? I used to live in New York State before I lived in Oregon, and now Washington. And we lived right on the border with Pennsylvania, so we would just go across the river and buy fuel in PA because the gas was always cheaper. And now, I mean, things obviously have changed. It's been 27 years since I left New York, but now it's the other way around. Gas in PA is actually more expensive than it is in New York. Not by a lot, by maybe 30 cents, but it is more expensive. And it's significantly more expensive than in Ohio. Like right now, I just checked fuel in Ohio. It's some places under $4, some a little over $4. Here, it ranges from $4.30 to $4.70. 70 cents a gallon, that's a lot. My tanks are 220 gallons or 240, something like that. I think they're like 120 gallon each. I usually don't run on the dry tanks, but even if I'm only half empty, that's 100 plus gallons, 70 cents a gallon. That works out to be $70 difference just on one fill up. PLR says I was down and oh yeah, Tennessee is cheaper than Ohio. Yeah, I agree. Tennessee, Kentucky even cheaper than Tennessee. Lots of southern states are cheaper. The best ones, cheapest ones are Mississippi and Alabama. Ed Case, my friend, good to see you in here. Yeah, Ed Case, haven't met with you, my friend, yet. I just haven't, as I explained before, I haven't been through your neck of the woods close enough. But one of these days, I'm pretty sure I will. Sure, would love to meet you. Yeah. Thanks for joining, and thanks for being, faithful subscriber and viewer. I appreciate you, as I appreciate all of you. So yeah, guess I'll be taking this South Prepper. Good afternoon, my friend. Good afternoon, my brother. Yeah, good to see you here. Shout out to South Prepper, Texas. Check out his channel. He lives in San Antonio area in Texas, and he's got pretty good grasp on what's going on down there. So if you want to know what's going on in his area, definitely check out his channel, South Texas Prepper. One of those people who I really want to meet, who I haven't met yet. But one of these days I'll be going through San Antonio. There was a period of time when I was in Texas, just not in San Antonio, like every 2 or 3 weeks. I was in Laredo, I was in all kinds of parts of Texas. Oh, it is? Yeah, of course. Thanks for shouting me out as well, my friend. Yeah, you do it often enough for me, and I appreciate it as well. I'm right now in PA, and the weather here is perfect for the restart. I couldn't ask for better weather. All day it's been drizzling, a little bit of rain, and I love it. If I just open my windows a little bit, TLR, yes, I will definitely call you. Which city you're at in Ohio? I forgot. You told me before. Is it in Cleveland area, or is it in, trying to remember. Let me know in which city you're at so I can plan. Near Columbus. Great. Yeah. I will keep that in mind when I'll be going through Columbus. I definitely will give you a jingle. Would love to meet you as well. Yeah, the weather here is amazing. Cloudy, drizzling on and off. I couldn't ask for better weather. When you're doing a restart, if it's too hot, like yesterday I was going through Massachusetts, I was going through Connecticut, it was so hot, it was 92 degrees. And if you're just driving through, no problem, you put on your AC. But when you're standing still, you feel like you're trying to conserve the fuel because it's expensive, $4 plus, give or take a gallon, and this monster burns about gallon an hour. So in 10 hours, that's $40. And if you don't do it and it's 90 degrees, you'll be seriously suffering from heat. I don't want to have heat stroke here in this truck. So it's a blessing to have cool day on my restart. Fresh. I got to work out today, did my exercises. Oh yeah, these rigs, they're terrible on fuel. South Prepper, Texas says that they burn a lot of fuel. They sure do, When I'm loaded, I made a video earlier on this morning. You can check that video out. You'll see my load. It's pretty heavy load, pretty much full load. Maximum I can take 48,000 pounds. That's what I can take with my truck. There's other trucks that have 3 axles in the back, and they can take more loads, more pounds. I can't. 80,000 is my max. 80 gross vehicle weight, truck and the cargo. So basically, 48,000 is pretty much max. My truck weighs a little over 30,000 pounds empty with a trailer. So uh, I'm pretty much full load at 46,000 pounds. So I'm uh, it's a heavy load, but it's a good load. It's a low profile load. So if I go through windy states, it's nice. You know, it doesn't blow you over. Like if you're driving reefer or dry van, those enclosed trailers, and if you're semi-empty, I personally have seen trucks that were just blown away, literally. You know, they were just laying on the side of the road. Uh, they were just laying on the side of the road because wind blew them over. I've seen it in Oregon actually going through Cabbage Hill. It's a pretty steep pass. How many gallons does your truck hold? South Prepper, Texas. How South Texas Prepper is asking. Yeah, I just mentioned before about 240 gallons, 120 gallon each tank. You know, there is trucks that have few smaller fuel tanks. Some of them have bigger fuel tanks. You know, some of them have 300 to 400 gallons, which is nice. You know, and again, you know, big fuel tank is convenient. You don't need to stop as often. Of course, on the at the pump, even if you buy, let's say you buy half, you're done half the fuel. You buy 100 gallons, you spend $400 to $500 just on one fill up, and that's a common fill up for me per day. So yeah, needless to say, if I work full months, I burn $8,000 to $9,000 in fuel, and that's after the discount. I have discount at Flying J and Pilot truck stops. Works out to be about it varies 8 to 10% on average. Depends. Each truck has its own discount, but on average, just across the board, you get 8 to 10% discount on the fuel you buy. And of course, there is cheaper fuel. Here is a little bit more expensive on my truck stop, but they get you. You know, you want free shower, you want some points that you can use to buy food with, then you're paying with higher diesel. But still, at the end, I think it works out to your favor a little bit. You know, in my opinion, all these discounts and points, all this BS is just gimmicks, you know, just to get you in. Helps a little bit, not much. But yeah, lots of fuel these trucks burn. You know, when you think about it, there is thousands of trucks across this country. You know, each big truck stop holds anywhere from 100 to 200 trucks on average. South Proper, Texas says there's a Pilot in Flying J right by my neighborhood. Yeah, there's a lot of them. There's hundreds of them across the nation, you know. I do not, Ed, I don't want electric semi. I think electric semi, and they want to make them autonomous too. How are they gonna, for example, you drive and suddenly conditions change. You need to stop and put chains on your truck. You know, thank God I avoided it so far. You know, I've been through 2 winters and I haven't put any chains yet. I tried not to avoid. If it's requiring chains, I just stop and wait. However, many people do, and you know, if weather conditions change, how that autonomous truck gonna put those chains on? There's no way, you know. In my opinion, it could work maybe in a straight line between two states, somewhere down south, maybe between southern Texas and New Mexico or something like that, you know. Child of the King, whoa, what's else here? Oh, I missed your message, couldn't read it. Yeah, unfortunately, these messages here, they appear. I think if you do live stream on a computer, you you know, you can read your messages in full. Here on the phone, when you live stream from the phone, they appear, and then in a few seconds they just fade away. So if it's a long message, sometimes I can't read the whole thing. But anyway, leave me messages. I'm going to try to I'm going to try to read them, your comments. So anyway, I wanted also to talk, enough about fuel talk. I wanted to talk about Trump and what's going on. He has been in court, and I've seen pieces of videos of Trump making comments that in the court they apologized to him, and there were even people with tears. And so he is off the hook this time, which means, all of this, in my opinion, is done on purpose by the opposite party, in my opinion, so he doesn't run for president. I'm not being biggest Trump supporter, but I would take Trump over what we have right now, to say the least. And I don't know, I heard that one of the candidates is supposed to be running for a president representing Democratic Party, and then DeSantis from Florida. I don't know, it seems like there is a lot of people are trying to run for president this time around. Let's see what happens, but in my opinion, I think eventually Trump will probably win. I think we'll see what happens. And again, I don't know. He's definitely not my favorite, but who else is out there? At least he's been there already before. He can, some things he did were okay, some not so much. And what bothers me about Trump, he claims that he will end war in the Ukraine once he becomes a president, which sucks for Ukraine because that means Biden is going to be president for another 2 years, and that means for 2 more years Ukraine is going to continue getting leveled, and people gonna keep dying on both sides. However, Trump claims that he will end war in the Ukraine. Sounds great, right? Sounds good to me. However, I heard Trump, one of his interviews, and he said that he will probably start war with terrorism. Guess where? Of all places, in Mexico. Here is my opinion. In my opinion, this is just utter BS. Mexico, our neighbor, if war starts there, at least war in the Ukraine is far away from here. If the war in Mexico starts, all those cartels, what he's trying to say, he's going to be doing war with the cartels who now he claims are terrorists. And policy of United States, if they fight with terrorism, which, in my opinion, how can you call those cartels terrorists? They never been terrorists before, suddenly they become terrorists. In my mind, it's just other BS. And here is true story that you don't hear too much, but I have. You can believe me or not believe me, you can do your own research. In Mexico, they found lots of lithium. Cartels are all over South Texas. Yeah. South Texas proper, I agree. They found lots of lithium in Mexico. And guess what? Lithium, that's what's being used in the batteries to make all these electric cars. The reason why they try to make these electric cars is another story. Right now we're talking about war on terrorism in Mexico. And are you putting two and two together, discovering all that lithium in Mexico, and suddenly all the cartels become terrorists, and they're gonna go with a war against terrorism because United States fight terrorism. They don't need to ask any country's permission. Cowboy, Hi, how you doing, my friend? Cowboys 8 panel. Thanks for joining. Good to see you here. And so this is all my opinion. You can take it or leave it. You can agree or disagree. Do your own research. But in my opinion, it makes perfect sense why United States wants to now have war on terrorism with Mexico. Uh, you know, it's just, in my opinion, Stevie Wonder could see what really is going on here. There is no terrorists. All those cartels, all they're doing is moving drugs through Mexico. Mexico is like a giant warehouse, and lots of the drugs from Colombia come through Mexico into the United States. Number one, oh yeah, because they say now all those drugs they're killing Americans. Well, number one, if Americans did not consume all the coke, nobody would be bringing it in here. There would be no market for it. Americans are consuming it. So, in my opinion, I'm against drugs. In my opinion, whoever is consuming, it's your choice. But if that consumption of drugs affect your health all your life, that's honestly is your fault. You know, as bad as it sounds. Nobody is forcing nobody to use drugs. So, in my opinion, if Trump comes to power, war in Ukraine is going to end, and another war is going to open in Mexico, which, in my opinion, is going to probably affect all of us here. Uh, Thanks, South Texas Prepper. I'm glad somebody agrees with me. Um, it seems like United States cannot live without wars. You know, excuse me. And so all this lithium needed for electrical cars, I'm gonna go over why they're trying to switch everything to electrical. Most car companies, I like cars. I mentioned it before in many of my videos. I watch many car videos just because cars are my hobby. I love cars. All of the companies are saying that they're going to be fully electric by year 2030. Something about year 2030. Some of them are even saying that before, like Jaguar, for example, wants to be full electric by year 2000, I believe 27 or 28, something like that. All of the cars, right now, for example, in California, if you're not having at least one electric or a hybrid in your portfolio, you cannot sell cars in California. And you might wonder why. You think, oh yeah, they're worried about the environment. They're trying to make air cleaner and purer. All of that is BS. I tell you why. Because number one, cars, yeah, of course, there is millions of cars. They do contribute to pollution, sure. However, what pisses me off more than anything when these big celebrities and politicians who, talk about saving the trees and saving the wells, blah, 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 trying to drive their Toyota Priuses to some certain events just to show people that they are environmentally conscious. They still have their yachts, they still have their airplanes, just to fill up one private jet, small private jet, and fly, let's say, from coast to coast. It'll cost you $3,000 to $5,000 in fuel, and that's for a smaller one. Now, is that consciousness about the environment? No, it's not. Those yachts, it costs sometimes, and I know this for a fact. I talk to people who own yachts. When I used to be a cab driver, I met some people who were captains of certain yachts. I always ask lots of questions. And those yachts, just to fill them up, and it's also the ones on the smaller side, 40 to 50 foot ones, often it costs $500, $600, $700 just to fill them up with fuel. Is that saving the wells? No, they're hypocrites. All these politicians, all these celebrities who are puppets, they're mere puppets. Whatever they're told to do, that's what they're doing. And so electrical cars. Why are they pushing electrical cars? I'll tell you this. You can agree or disagree with me, but they are trying to make electrical cars. Number one, it's a rolling computer. They can shut it off from a distance, completely turn it off. They're trying eventually to make them autonomous. By year 2030, everything they want to be electric. Then, next step, autonomy. At that point, they can just lock you up in your own car and bring you to the police, simply because they may not like your score may be too low. Or they can just turn off your car altogether. You won't be able to drive it anywhere just because you haven't behaved good. They're gonna slap you on your wrist for not recycling the way they like to be you to do it, or for raising your voice at somebody in some grocery store, or crossing the street somewhere where you're not supposed to. Whatever. They want people to walk on eggshells. They want to have total control over people. That's why electrical cars. Not because they worry about the environment. No, they don't care. Plus, yes, of course, cars contribute to pollution, but not to the extent that they claim. Because, these trucks, for example, as I was just talking about, how much this truck burns fuel. When it's idling, gallon an hour, gone. When I'm driving, if I get 6.5 gallons to a mile, here you're not talking about 40 miles to a gallon or 36 miles. No, you worry about every half a gallon. If I get 6.5 miles to a gallon on a round trip, I'm lucky. Sometimes, depending on the terrain, my round trip or trip from A to B with a load is 5.5 miles to a gallon. When I have full load, and I'm going across the country, going over some passes, like some really steep passes in Montana or Wyoming. In the moment, when I'm going up the steep hill, I'm only going 25 miles an hour. You know how much fuel this truck burns? Sometimes 1 mile to a gallon. So you drive 1 mile, 1 gallon is gone. So these trucks, and there are thousands of them across the country, tens of thousands, they burn and they're diesel. They make a lot more pollution than cars do. What about locomotives, trains? What about all the boats? There is thousands of those. Just airplanes, there is, at any given time, there is 6,000 to 10,000 jets, 737 and up in the air in any given moment. In this country alone. What about the world? This is what burns. This is what pollutes the air. Cars, yeah, they do help a little bit too, but not that much, in my opinion. So all those electrical cars and that agenda, now you know the agenda, let me know in the comments if you're watching this live stream, afterwards. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Am I right? Am I wrong? I think that's what's going on, And so, I'm not telling you to vote for Trump or not vote for Trump. I don't vote. Personally, I do not vote for anybody. In my opinion, yes, each president, of course, does some of his own things that he likes, obviously. But in my opinion, for the most part, they're all mere puppets. The main agenda, they do what somebody who's above them, way above them, tell them. Because there is people who rule this world from the shadows, from behind the curtain. You don't hear those names much. All of you are familiar probably with Rothschild and, Rockefellers, and all these all these rich families, all these bankers. But these are the people who truly make world decisions. Presidents, yeah, of course, they make some of the decisions, in my opinion, but not much. And so these wars, I don't know. I think these wars, the decisions for the wars are made by, in my opinion, by big businessmen. Like right now, if they're gonna go to war with Mexico, because they're gonna be fighting terrorism, so they have to. They're not even gonna ask President of Mexico if they can do it. Jason Bott says World War III, April 25th. Who knows? Nothing surprised me anymore. In my opinion, it's not gonna start quite yet, but we don't know. We don't know Ukrainian war is gonna start when it did. So we just truly don't know. It maybe April 25th. And so I think big businessmen, like whoever's making lithium batteries, would probably be behind the war with terrorism in Mexico. Same thing, war in the Ukraine, probably big businessman, because there is a lot of resources in Ukraine. Why do you think they're fighting so hard for Donbass? It's because it's full of natural gas, full of coal, full of other different metals, aluminum, copper, blah, 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 all of the above. This is why. It's resources. It's always resources. And resources plus, I think, in my opinion, also not just businessmen in Ukraine, it's also Pentagon. Our current potato head, he's there just a political figure that is not even doing a good job. I mean, everybody have seen when he shakes hands with with nobody, or he turns around and he starts talking to somebody, nobody is there. It's just comical more than anything these days. But anyway, so I think it's businessmen and Pentagon who are making these big decisions with wars. And yeah, once again, seems like United States can't live without wars. If not one war, it's another. And then there is always some good reasons. Um, let me know. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this. I think if they're gonna start fighting that terrorism in Mexico, it's gonna affect us here in the United States somehow, in my opinion, more. Not just financially, because cartels, they just gonna be. You have probably seen what they do with each other when they're fighting in Mexico. They decapitate people, they hang people, they torture people like you haven't seen before. And I'm sure that kind of stuff might probably happen on this soil too if war with so-called terrorism in Mexico breaks out. So I don't know. Again, I don't tell you to vote for or against Trump. In my opinion, even though he said he would do the war, I still think he's probably a better candidate than anyone else at the moment that I know of. I'm still not going to vote for him. I just don't vote, period. For nobody. I don't vote locally. I'm a United States citizen. I could vote, but I choose not to. Never have. And never say never, but I don't think I will. I notice this in my life, my personal life. If I ever say never, shortly, as soon as I say it, I'm doing exactly the opposite. So I'm not going to say I'll never vote, because who knows, maybe I will. But most likely I won't. And so, yeah, you can vote for whoever you want. But this is what will most likely happen if and when probably Trump comes to power. Anyway, good seeing whoever joined my live stream. Good seeing you all. Thanks for watching my videos. Thanks for liking and subscribing and sharing my videos. And I'll talk to you in the next upload. Take care. God bless. Bye bye.